Well, thank you for tuning in to the F5 Recovery Podcast. We are so grateful that you are here. This is One Pretty Ricky. I have my co-hosts Adam Martin, Kirsten Huvenen, and Scott College. We are so thankful that we're able to continue to do this show, but this show would not be possible without our amazing sponsors. So, of course, thank you to the F5 Project, the Ridge Treatment and Reentry Center, of course, Heat Transfer Warehouse, Shirts from Fargo, and our season sponsor, GoAwayBear.com. So we are having a great show today. We're going to talk about friendships and recovery. I just decided that that's our topic today.
Oh, with my friends.
Because of all the laughter we just had. So
Why were we laughing, Ricky?
Yeah, I know. What the hell do they talk about before they get on their show?
yeah, well, I guess we were talking about bonding.
Yeah, we were.
You know,
yes, we were.
It's bondage. I said bonding.
Oh, my gosh.
Well, we were talking about a game. That not you guys be serious and appropriate here.
We're talking about the re-entry
Yes,
simulation.
explain that. That really was
We
cool.
also talked about that.
Well, Darby's currently working on it.
Yeah.
Darby's working on it.
No, we went to South Dakota and we participated in this re-entry simulation by the Department of Corrections. And so I went to, my name was like Bob or something like that, and I had spent 14 years in prison. I was released. I had no forms of ID. I had a couple bus tickets and like $50, and they were like, you have to get a job, find a place to live, all this stuff. And so like there's like 14 stations around the room, and you have to use a bus ticket to like go to each place. And if you run out of tickets, you're like screwed. Yeah. And so by the end of the second week, because they time it, so you got to, like 15, 20 minutes to do your week one. So like meet with your PO, get a job, go to the halfway house, take your UAs, go to the job and take a UA, all this stuff. And by the end of the second week, I was in jail. I was like, because when we first started, I didn't know what we were doing. So when they first came, they were like, they put us all in this room and they're like, all right, we're going to do a re-entry simulation. And then they explained it. I looked around the room and I was like, not one of these people have ever been released from prison. Bet, I got this. I'm going to win. Nope. I was, by mid set of the second week, I was like, my whole game plan pivoted. I was like, I'm just going to make as much money as I can before I go back to prison.
Yeah, for real.
And I did. When I went to jail, when they finally sent me to jail, I had a lot of money I could have put on my books. I had more money than anybody else. So I knew how to make money, but I didn't know how to stay sober, apparently, and I didn't know where my probation office was.
Good God. At least you got a lot of honey buns.
Yeah. So I sat pretty good in jail for...
But that's realistic, though.
Oh, yeah. What did they say of all the people that played the game, Scott? Was like 60% of them went to jail?
Yes,
Yeah.
60.
There was like 40 people in that room or something like that?
Holy
Yeah, I went to jail and it was just like me and this other dude, and we were like became buddies. I became the pod boss. So I was like, and then they started coming in one by one, and so then when they came in, I was like, what up, new fish? And so then they asked this probation officer who played the game or whatever, and he got sent to jail. She was like, what happened? He was like, my PO's a bitch.
And it was a PO.
So it was fun, and I think that the people that were in that room, they most of them are the people who are working with the folks that are going through reentry. They were probation officers, correctional staff, administration,
Executive staff.
And I think they got a better concept of like how tedious the process can be of like
real.
That checking the box is more important than mental health.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so it was cool, and so I came back and I was like, Darby, I have this great idea. We should do a re-entry simulation. She's like, I had this idea like 2 years ago.
What I told you about 2 years ago? Yeah.
I was like, oh, yeah, I knew that.
Yeah.
It wasn't a great idea then.
Yeah. Well,
I think we could...
It's true, though.
We could float that to the Department of Corrections here. I think they'd love that.
Yeah. It would be...
Well, just that experience is huge.
We could bring the real deal. Bring some of our own people.
Yeah.
Scott.
It's true though. I mean, it really is like, how difficult is it to, and that doesn't even take into consideration, if you've been sitting for 14 years, your ability to handle like just how overwhelming it is to be in public, to be, to have all this freedom, that's not even taken into consideration. It's just super.
You know what it gave me an appreciation for? Was women who have been released that have kids.
Yeah.
Because I was like, I couldn't imagine having to do all this shit and having to drag a kid along with me. You know what I mean?
If you have just one, yeah.
If you just have one.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, how many women that are just being released from prison have, I mean, you still have to like if you're going to get assistance doesn't happen same day.
No.
Daycare is crazy
Stupid.
expensive.
Yes.
Like, in some places, like some people are paying like $1,200 a month.
Yeah.
More than that.
For one kid.
For one kid.
I know. What I used to pay for 3 kids, somebody pays for 1 now.
Yeah.
It's just crazy.
Yeah. So I just couldn't, I was like, as I was going through that, like I went to jail. And then I was like watching and I was just like, I just can't imagine having to drag kids along everywhere that you go, like go meet with your PO, go to court, go to take your drug test for employment, go get your identification, go like all that stuff. There's no way. I bet you statistically, if you ran the numbers, I bet you women have, plus if they do get a job, they get paid less than men do. They don't get that access to jobs that like for a guy, you can show up on a construction site and they just assume he knows what he's doing.
Yeah.
Right.
And so that's probably why when you see construction companies, it's rare that you see, at least in North Dakota, women on the crew unless they're holding the flags.
Right.
That's the only time I've really ever saw them. Every once in a while I see an operator or, so they can't just, they don't get a lot of the privileges that guys get when it comes to reentry. Partly, I think that's why the homeless shelters are so filled with guys, because they can just show up and it's first come, first serve. And so who's going to be faster? A guy who has, no kids he's dragging along, or a girl that's like staying in a hotel that's got to pack everyone up? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then by the time she gets there, it's all filled up because all 7 guys got there before her.
And they don't take kids.
Are working with you and everybody's going, you know what I mean? So
I'm going to punch you in the face, get up!
Yeah, for real.
Well, and
That was just a metaphor.
he didn't mean
He was talking to me.
Yeah.
It's fine, I'm a grown up. Yeah.
It's okay.
That's also just a
The
metaphor.
Oh,
metaphor.
yeah. Oh, yeah, that's wrong too, isn't it?
Yeah.
My kid did that to me one time. I was putting my youngest one in, my youngest boy in his car seat, and he was just like, doing this thing, and I was like, I will punch you in the face. And I was joking. He knows I'm joking. We say it to each other. And my oldest son is recording me.
Of course he is.
And
yeah.
he was like, oh. And I was like, no, you didn't. He's like, I have blackmail for life. I got you. Anyway.
I've taken my
Kids are
kids to
amazing.
daycare naked a few times because they won't get dressed. So I'm like, fine, get in the car. And then we got there, Jack was probably 5, and we get to daycare, and he goes, well, what do I do now? They're going to see my penis. And I'm like, well, then put your damn clothes on. God damn it. You are your father's kid for sure.
Oh, man, called his bluff.
I just, yeah.
Sometimes that's what you got to do.
It would have been a different, I would have been like, props to the kid if he would have been like, let's go.
Yeah. Rocket, yep.
Here we go. I'm going to jail. Thanks, son.
I call your bluff back.
Yeah, what if he would have? What would you have done?
What, I walked him into daycare. It's just daycare.
You'd probably go to
you
jail.
would have got like
It
halfway
was
there
a
and be like,
home daycare. It was a home daycare.
we're doing daycare in the van today.
We're just going to drive around town.
I don't know. It worked out good for me, so I'm just gonna go with that. But 2 of my kids
These
tried
kids
that
ever
on me.
smarten up. Look out.
Yeah.
We're in trouble.
No, fine. Don't put your clothes on. Let's go.
Oh, that's awesome.
Anyway, but yeah, the connections you make when you get out are huge, and if they, in both directions, you can either flip $20 into 200 real quick with that buddy, or you can connect with somebody that's in recovery, or at least going the right way, or just you kind of need a leg up. Somebody has to help, or you're just kind of stuck. Because to
There's a
do
lot
all
of
those things
barriers.
are a lot.
And I think out of that process comes, I talk about a lot where for Adam and I, just getting his perspective on the way things are and the way I think, we've actually been able to open things up for thinking different.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
I think it could be huge for the people that are in those positions, like the Department of Corrections, the POs, that kind of thing, that it's gives them some empathy.
Yeah, for real.
Because one of the things I always would say to a lot of the POs is like when we were talking to them is how many of you would ride your bike at 20 below
Yeah.
to work?
Yeah.
Unless you're some physical freak that you ride
Yeah.
bikes because you like it.
Yeah, weird.
Which is sick in itself. But
Yeah.
it's
Go
like
for a fun run.
I'm just gonna go ride my bike at 20 below. This is fun. I like
Our
exercise.
friends are chain smoking while they're riding the bike.
I saw a guy yesterday. He was on his bike, had a cigarette hanging out of his mouth. I was like, I get you, man.
Really get you. I've had that ride.
I woke up late. I'm in a rush. I need to get my smokes in, drinking coffee while riding a bike to work.
Yeah.
No hands.
No biker shorts either.
Your CEO right there.
Yeah, for real. It's true though. The empathy is a huge piece.
Yeah, I think it's a big
Yeah.
part of it.
Well, I think that's some of the best friendships I have now in recovery. They're empathetic, but I think they're empathetic because they've actually went through it and not got told or not, like they actually experienced it. Like I think especially when we go into the rooms, it's like, well, everybody here has the same issue as I do, so they understand every single thing I'm talking about. Because when I would go to treatment or when I would go home to like talk to Jelsa or just different ones, like they would be like, oh, okay, cool, we understand, like how does it make you feel? trying to connect, but at a certain point, it's like, well, this is only going to go so far because you don't have an addiction or you haven't committed a crime or, it's only going to get us so far to be able to have that like connection to truly understand what I'm feeling. And so then now having my friends now and even my sponsor and just different ones, it's like, well, now the connection's even deeper because like you truly understand what I'm saying when I'm feeling this way, when I'm just spinning or when I'm manic or when I'm just all these different things. It's like, oh, then they can say, hey, well, just last week, or, not like, oh, I understand, how can I help? It's like, well, I don't always need you to help. Or sometimes I don't want your help because if you don't quite get me, that's like, well, you're going to screw it up. And it's just, I'd rather just.
It's kind of the same thing, even with the kid, like with my daughters, I'll be like, is this a fix-it situation or a listen?
I like that.
Because I think it's
that.
part of,
It's so
because I
amazing.
want to fix it. As a man, we want to fix shit.
Yeah.
So it's like when we can look at it, because then it's, most of the time, it's just listen.
Right.
They don't want me to fix it.
Yeah, I'm like that with everyone. Like, if someone starts venting to me, I'm like, I'll be right back. It's like- and then I'll come back, and then Scott would be like, why do you always shit on me? What happened? Or Camille or whoever will just say like, why? Like, because one of the team will come up and be like, this, and this, and be like, oh, that's horrible. And then I go fix it, and Scott's like, why did you break everything that I just fixed?
It's like,
You know what? I'm just gonna move to the housing. It's like,
you are safe over it.
I am, because people can't just come
tell
up and
people where
vent
you're at.
anymore.
Why did you give it out?
No one's gonna make the trek. There's nothing
Have you
that bad happening where they're like, I gotta drive all the way over there and see Adam right now.
All the way over there.
All the way.
All 3
It's like,
blocks?
Yeah, because like everything is all.
it's like 6. Well, depending on which way you go.
I just had a bike and a pack of barbs.
Yeah.
And a couple
But I used to get messages all the time, whether it was guys in the houses to, like, team members or, whatever. And then I would be like, I just thought I was helping.
Stop at it. He's like, what? I was just helping. I was like, no, you're not.
Then there's the other end of it where it's like, somebody goes to Darby and be like, did you see what Adam said? It's like, God damn it.
Logging on to Facebook. I'm like, how do I fix this?
But I think that's part of it, too.
Darby, you're kind of like, have you ever watched the Howard Stern show? You're like Robin. You're like the person over onto the side. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, I know.
Yep.
With the real ideas. Yeah.
Yeah. She's like the smart,
I know.
has the, you know, the clarity.
Yep.
Howard Stern's just like, where's the camera? You know.
Yeah. sit
Anyway.
here. But how many people like in those houses? Because I've always said, even in my career, if you're not uncomfortable, you're not getting better. Like you have to go to meetings, you have to make yourself uncomfortable, you have to connect with people. And if that's not happening, you're just not getting better.
My socks
Yeah.
match my pants.
Yeah.
We're done.
Wow.
Cut.
Adam has
over.
evolved. Adam accidentally did something.
Adam was helping again.
Look at this. You match your socks, you get sober. 11 years.
Yeah.
What
How'd you get 11
By
years?
the way, congrats on 11 years.
Oh, yeah. Thanks.
awesome.
Appreciate it.
Proud of
This is
you.
the hard part.
Yep. 3
Oh,
months more than me. Yep.
it's been hard ever since you,
20 years
1
ago.
year, day one.
I was like, where are we going? I was like,
It's even gotten harder, apparently.
no.
No, I turned a year, so, like my first year, everything seemed like it was really easy because it was like, it sucks so bad. It's just like, so when I got sober, I was like, the only real hard stuff about it was emotionally, like right away or whatever. Like once I got past or got used to it, it was pretty easy that first year because it was like, man, anything's better than that.
But even those connections you made in your first year,
Oh yeah.
or first years, or whatever, like
13.
did they absolutely, seriously though, they kept you coming back to have this one,
Yeah.
That's,
you know?
and I think that's a big
Without
part of,
that.
you know, even for me, like being out there being sober for 4.5 years and then going back out and just burning everything to the ground. When I came back, I still had some people. It's always cool because I had 2 or 3 of them that were like super. Everybody was like, "Oh, I'm so glad you're back." Oh,
Yeah.
you know, Derek. First time I come back, he goes, "Thanks for fucking up our trip to Colorado." And I'm like, "Wow, unconditional love here." Huh?
It is, but it's about
But it
me.
was, yeah, it was about him. But I think that's the part of it is, you know, when we do make mistakes, you know, and we do,
Yeah.
people, you know, relapse is a huge part of recovery, you know, and people
Yeah.
are like, oh, you're giving the green light to relapse. No, I'm not. All I'm saying, it's a reality.
Yeah.
And then it's how we treat people when they come back. You know, if we're everybody's sitting on a pedestal saying, what were you thinking? You know, or
Yeah.
kind of treating you like you screwed up. You're like, why am I back here?
Yeah.
You know, but for me, it was the hardest thing when I came back was like, because my meeting is a Saturday morning, and going back in those doors, that was the hardest thing. Because I was so ashamed and remorse and just feeling
Oh, I know,
guilty.
yeah.
And that's your disease working on you saying, you don't need these people.
Yeah.
You know
They
what?
don't exist.
Who it's worse for? People who stayed sober longer, and
It
then
does
went back
hurt.
out and came back.
Oh, yeah.
I've yet to see anyone who's been sober longer than 15 years, who actually went back out, that came back, stay. I still haven't seen
I
one.
seen so.
Just say you haven't.
No.
Why do you
Right.
you always gotta one up me every time we're on camera? Well, I've seen 3.
Well, no, I was just thinking of Dan. He was 25 years sober, and now he passed away. But he was, I think it was 20
See?
years. He was 20 years sober.
He died.
When he passed away. You know what happened?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know.
But yeah, it's very, very small.
Very rare, and it's almost like you know, because there's the couple different trends that I see or whatever is like the guy who relapses all the time and then gets sober,
Yeah.
and then you know the person who gets sober right away, right? Those are kind of the two,
Yeah.
right? Or someone who comes and then like leaves, never comes back or whatever. But it's almost better to get it all out of the way,
Yeah.
right,
Yeah,
right
yeah.
away, and then get sober, than it is to like
Or
get
just
sober
basic.
right away and then then relapse.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, after multiple years of recovery, because it's almost like, I don't know, it's like kick dogs.
Yeah.
Like,
It was tough after 4.5 years after I was out there to come back in. But one of the cool things for me was
that it humbled the shit out of you.
oh,
Yeah.
but one of the best moments was I was at Casey's, or
Oh.
Stop and Go at the time, And then my boss at the time was driving me around for my sales pros because I didn't have a license. And Tony pulled up on his motorcycle.
Yeah.
And I got down in as far as I could in that seat so he wouldn't see me, you know?
Yeah.
So I'm like, then I hear the motorcycle start up and I go, yes, he didn't see me. Next thing I know, he's knocking on my window. I roll it down and he goes, hey. He goes, just because you're drinking doesn't mean we can't be friends.
Yeah.
And that was a big thing, you know, for just to hear that from somebody that's still in the program.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes we end up, when we're in recovery, when somebody does go back out, it's almost like, uh-oh, I can't hang out with that person, you know?
Yeah.
There gets to be some separation
Yeah.
that we're almost like...
And you don't want to make it weirder for
right.
them.
And
You know what I mean?
Well, and that's what I said, but it's also, I want to protect my sobriety.
Right, yeah, yeah.
You know, so I think it's really conflicting, because you're trying to figure out, I still want to...
You're not really that way anymore, though.
Huh?
You're not really that way anymore. Like,
No.
you'll totally hang out with a guy who's relapsed.
I know,
Yeah.
I mean...
But early on, yeah,
early
you're
on,
just
it was
like, it was like they were contaminated or something. It's like, oh no, they got drunk. I might get drunk.
Oh my God, it's osmosis. But I think it's...
Just hanging out with, oh man, I have relapsed. I was like, right
Just
now.
talking to you, I relapsed.
But it's true, there's a lot of guys that go back out if one of their buddies go.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
it's like the anti-network.
Yeah,
You
I
know,
and
like,
it's like
They
that.
follow.
yeah.
They
But I
make
think
a
it's...
point to say how shitty recovery is, and you're like, okay, why?
And they
Put
sit in the
all
bar and they're
effort into
drinking.
this,
Like, that meeting was a
enjoy your
joke. Well, I
drinks.
don't know why we went.
Just enjoy your drink.
You need to get sober. Like,
I know. And I left after, I don't know, 15 years, but I didn't drink. But coming back was super humbling. And because my job became my meeting all of a sudden, and I quit talking to my sponsor, and I quit doing all the things. But I came back to the meeting, and this girl introduced herself to me, and I'm like, bitch, I made this meeting. You know what I mean? Like, damn it.
I've been around for 3 months.
You must be new
So
here.
bad. Oh, God,
Oh,
it really
we got a
was.
newbie, fresh meat.
I had a guy in the house one time. I just went to the house and I walked in. I was checking on it. I was like looking around to make sure it was clean and stuff. And this guy walks up to me. He's like, "Hey." I was like, "Hey." He's like, "My name's whatever." I was like, "Nice to meet you." And he's like, "Well, here's the rules." And I was like, "Okay, I'm gonna run with this." And he gave me a tour of the house and stuff.
that's
And
sweet.
he was like, "So, when did you get out?" And I was like, "It's been a while." You know? Like, and then somebody else came in, and they're like, "Oh, what's up, Adam?" And he was like, "Oh, you guys already know each other?" He's like, "Yeah, he founded F5." He's like, "I'm an idiot." Why didn't you say something? I was like, "It's weird."
Yeah, I know, you
Like,
know.
I was enjoying it.
you were invested, and I just
Yeah.
I didn't want to ruin your
See
day.
how helpful you were.
You were proud of this.
Well,
Good.
I did. I was like, you did a super
Yeah,
good
for
job.
real.
So do you think sometimes that resistance to that sometimes is, you know, I was explaining to another buddy that we had a buddy that went back out and he was really upset about it. I said, sometimes I think I'm almost jealous of that person that they're not burning it to the ground. You know, that there's almost that fear, you know, like, holy shit, he's made, you know, I couldn't do that. I tried that and I
Yeah.
burnt it to the ground, but he's actually succeeding
Right.
in life. You know, he's got kids and he's got his job, he owns a business and he's doing all these things and, you know, it's almost like,
And he's
wait a minute,
drinking
you're
again,
supposed,
you
yeah,
think?
he's
Yeah, yeah,
drinking
yeah.
again. So you're almost like, wait a minute, this is supposed to explode at some point.
But how
And
much
it
effort
doesn't.
goes into keeping that afloat?
Well, it
Keeping
probably
up the-
does, but-
You know what I mean? I definitely don't want people in recovery to think that I am burning it down. I want them for sure to
Oh,
think that I
yeah,
got my shit together. You
Yeah,
know
there's
what I
that
mean?
too, you know, it's like, so I think it just it's just kind of different.
Yeah, you just don't know the end game. Like
Right.
you never know what it eventually might happen. Because there's a lot of guys I've seen leave, and they look normal, and they're like brewing their own beer.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And they're like, drinking craft beer or whatever, and look like they got their shit together. And I'm just like, man, that looks nice. You
does
know,
look
but I don't even want anything other than the beer.
I
It's like,
know, I know.
and then 15 years later.
I don't want them
Shit
getting
fell off
divorced
for
and
them.
all the
Yeah.
stuff, yeah.
They're getting divorced. They got granted, there's guys in recovery that are going through the same shit.
Yeah.
So I think really it's just like how mentally stable do you want to be? Because I think if I went through the things that I went through in the last 11 years, if I would have went through all those things drinking, I'd be in prison, 100%.
Yeah,
Or
for
dead.
sure.
Huh? Or dead, hopefully.
Yeah. That
Because then I wouldn't have to deal with it,
Yeah.
But there's no way.
It doesn't promise you a giddy
No.
life. It just, you get to live your life. The highs and lows, you get to be there for all of it, which is super cool, really. Because the good days, the bad days, anyway, it's all right.
So Scott, when you came back, or like that first meeting, did you talk to anyone beforehand, or did you just show up?
I just showed up.
Oof.
I remember I used to drive by Saturday mornings hungover.
Yeah.
Just saying, God, I wish I could go back in there. And I was like,
Yeah.
you don't need to go there. So I'd go to the bar at 8:30 in the morning,
Oh.
on a Saturday, just because I felt so crappy, But like I said, it was so cool when I walked in that room. There was a dozen guys came up and gave me a hug and said, "Man, we're glad you're back, man." Except one guy who's one of my really good friends, Bruce, comes up and he goes, "The fuck were you thinking?" And I'm like, he's the only guy that can say that to me, and I know where it's
Everybody
coming from.
else is just like, "Oh,
Everybody's,
Scott,
yeah."
yay, prodigal
He always
son."
tell that story. He goes, "I don't think I swore." I said, "Bruce, do you know yourself?" "I always swear." It's like, okay, that's right.
There's always that one guy.
Yep.
You got your sponsor, you got your fun guy, like the one who co-signs all your bullshit, and then you got that one guy you don't really hang out with, but he'll call you on everything. He's just like, why? And you're like okay with it because he's kind of a piece of shit too. So it's like, not that Bruce is,
Questioning.
but yeah.
You know because you know.
But because you know.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah. So I think it's but I think that's one of the things that keeps a lot of people from the rooms. Is coming back anyway, whether it's NAA, whatever it is, whatever your recovery route is. That it's that fear of how people are going to react, what they're going to think of me, and that gets to be that's heavy, man. That gets really heavy on your soul as far as trying to figure out who you are, and it's like, I'm just a piece of shit, and then you get back and it's like, no, I'm really not, So I was saying about the airport story. He called me and he was like in his first year of sobriety, and he was just like, everybody's drinking, and he was there with his kid, and those trips he always drank when he was on them, and he's like, oh my God, everybody's drinking. I don't know what to do. And I said, well, look around the room and see who's not drinking. And he said that really was a turning point for him because he looked around and he said, most of the people weren't drinking.
Right.
They were drinking water or Diet Coke or something, So I think sometimes we get in our own head so much that everybody's watching us. It's like watching people when they first get sober too, or going to a social event. They got to have something in their hand.
Yeah, I can't.
Like, oh my God, I got to look like I'm drinking.
The sober person.
Oh my God, he's sober. And I'm like, nobody cares. Nobody really cares.
They never
don't.
did until you got obnoxious and started taking clothes off, and then they're like, we should call the police.
Yep. Oh God, he's drunk again.
Not yet.
Yeah, give it 10 minutes.
Let's let it
Let's
a
see
little
where
bit.
this goes.
I'm always like, well, this is going to be a good story. But it is true, though. I really think that any people that I've sent to recovery meetings or whatever, the ones that don't make the connections, like don't stay to chit chat and have these, friendships, they don't stick around. They just don't. It's so much bigger than just being at a meeting or being in treatment. Like treatment, in my humble opinion, is an expensive way to get to recovery meetings and make those friendships and start creating that. Whether you stick with it for the rest of your life or not, it doesn't matter. Just to get to know some other people that are sober, because you don't know where to meet sober people at this point, So anyway,
My
but you got
buddy
to be
Keith always
uncomfortable.
says, treatment gets you sober. AA keeps you sober.
Yeah.
That's kind of the concept. Is like you get some education on it. You get some, it's important part of it. It's that part of getting understanding where things are coming from, but it's like you said, it's all the connections that you make after. It's the fellowship, it's going to coffee afterwards, or some of those things. And even as you are in sobriety for a while, you start. For me, in the first year, 2 years, I was like, I'd call Cheney and Tony at 10:30 at night. Hey, you guys want to go get coffee? And they're like, it's 10:30 at night, Scott. And I'm like, yeah, let's go. And they're like, no, go to bed. But I just wanted people in my life, because I was so afraid that I was going to get isolated again, or be where I was at down there, and just finding a way to stay connected to people. And it was, but then as I got through it, and then you get busy with life and your jobs and stuff, and traveling a lot. It's like, they would, hey, why don't you come out for for fellowship afterwards, like, no, I got to get home, and it's like, you can feel yourself pushing that away. And try to get reconnected to that. I've really gotten back into that and being a part of that because I think it's really important.
I think it's huge, yeah. I think there's like, you get sober, and then there's a point in your recovery where you have like this emotional bottom, kind of. Not that there is really a bottom, but it's like you got to start to work on your emotional recovery, and you have to like you said, reinvest yourself and make an effort again to be active and to go out and do things. Because life gets busy, and then I get important, and I know what my sponsor's going to say. I don't need to call and check in and blah, blah, blah. All those little things that keep me accountable and kept my life good suddenly fall to the wayside, and I can't figure out why I'm depressed or unhappy. And it's just like drugs or whatever was in front of me. I would just get as much as I could. I did the same thing with self-pity, depression, anger. I just like resentment. I just like drink it, you know what I mean, and wallow in it, and deflate my own balloons and have a pity party, and you know what I mean. Yep. I'd invited you, but you wouldn't have come anyway, and whatever, all that stuff. But it's like I got to find a healthy way to deal with all that stuff, and that's well into recovery. That's 15, 20 years sober. So yeah, there's a lot of hope.
Keep going out, people.
It's possible.
But you never know what's going to come of it, really.
Everything's fine.
Yeah, I'm fine.
Just fine.
That's how you get there. Everything's fine. But like since the passing of our friend, who was really close, I've hung out again with these 3 other girlfriends of mine that we used to hang out every weekend all the time. And now, since his passing, we've hung out every weekend. And it has like sparked this like joy that is... It's just like,
oh, really?
Cannot, it's unmeasured.
Yeah, because the phone calls I get are not joyful. They call every time they hang out, I get a phone call. They'd be like, hey, Adam, you remember this? And I'm like, no.
It's story time with the ladies. I don't get any of those calls.
Oh, well, you're on the list now.
Okay.
Yeah. It's good too, isn't
It's
it?
like it's really good.
It's awesome.
Why didn't you ever hit on us? That's usually why didn't you hit on us?
They called me, they're like, why didn't you ever hit on us? Or I was like, because you're too old.
I know, I'm like, oh, wow. Let's call him next week.
Hang up.
Now we're old women that don't know how the phone works. We're
They
just
were
going to
like
keep calling.
like when I went to the meeting or whatever, they were like the 4 women that were like sponsoring women, and then I go on a date with, and anytime any of those 4 were sponsoring, it was like I was not getting anywhere. Like, I was like, they were like properly armed, with facts about themselves. They knew, like, Adam is, stay away from him.
We gave him self-confidence.
Yeah, they had, I was like, well, okay. Well, I guess I'll go to a different meeting.
What do you look for at a date? Oh, low self-esteem.
Oh, no.
Anyway, but yeah. So
It's not like I had high self-esteem.
It's about recovery.
Yeah. Oh.
So do you think on that 366th day you're ready to date?
I think that you do whatever you do, just keep going to meetings, yeah. I cannot offer advice like, wait a year. I mean, I can say that, I never did that. But.
Every time I ever did, it went sideways anyway.
Yeah, I know.
It's like, why don't you wait till you get through the steps and then start it? Well, that didn't work. Let's wait till you get through your 4 steps and you take a real inventory and know all your character defects and stuff. Nope, didn't work. They just knew better about them.
And it might be that we just need to change. Is that it? You think?
No.
No?
No, wait till it's
You
really
think
painful.
that might be it?
What?
We just need to change our behavior?
Yeah.
If it's really painful, then change.
The funny thing is when we think we've changed, we actually probably haven't. We're just good at covering up the bullshit a little bit. It's kind of like, women starting to put makeup on again. It's like, I look better.
They do.
They do
look better.
but it's like, it's like a beard for me or whatever. Like under this, not so good. I grow the beard out. It's like, Adam's changed.
He even looks good.
It looks fantastic. You look healthy. You look sober. What's different?
Not much.
I found
My
a mask,
actions.
actually.
I'm living healthy. I've changed
Working
my
on it every
diet. I run a mile every day.
With a cigarette in my mouth.
Yeah, oh, that's never been.
In my first year, I was I was not like chubby yet. Like I was like fit because I didn't have a car, so I had to like walk everywhere and ride bike and stuff. And then
I swear.
as soon as I got my car, that was the last time I exercised.
This is recovery.
Get used to it.
You guys are all very attractive. You're too hard on yourselves. It really it's how you carry yourself that women like. It's not your
what's
thickness
up?
or thinness or whatever, beard or whatever. Size matters, I'll tell you that. But it's not your gut that they're worried about. Well,
I'll tell you, it's the first thing I think. Like if like for some reason like me and another woman like catch each other's eye, I'm like, I'm just sucking in my gut.
Perfect example this morning. I
Riding
couldn't
my
talk for like
shoulders
2
out.
minutes because I thought we were getting a guest. We thought to get a guest, and I'm like, yeah. Oh, this
Sitting up a
hurts.
little, yep, sitting up a little taller.
well, that's not for me.
Oh yes. I do have to breathe there. I'm gonna pass
Oh,
out.
yeah, okay.
Just say.
After
Every
an hour
time
and a half.
Kirsten looks away, we're like, oh shit happened. That's how the cookie crumbles.
Still make friends in recovery, yeah. Whatever they are.
Keep them close.
Yeah.
This is what it's like having friends in recovery.
This is
It really
literally
Yeah.
it is like
Yeah, this is
100%. This is
Yeah.
You talk about dumb shit, and nobody's like, What are you talking about?
You know, when I started F5, that was the goal, was to create engagement like this. Because it was like everybody that I knew that was getting out of prison or, it doesn't matter, treatment center, detox, it was like every engagement they had was all about checking the box.
Yeah.
And it was like, man, when's the last time someone sat down with them and just had coffee?
Yeah.
No agenda, no motive. And we still fall into that or whatever because we still have our jobs, you know, that we have to ensure we do. But it's, I think, you know, and that it's also probably, this is kind of the part in the peer support world where they really struggle with because it's like they're friends,
Right.
you know?
Yeah.
And so then when, you know, something goes sideways or whatever, like, it's like, why would you do that? He's my friend. It's like,
Okay. Yes, yeah.
and then the people are like, there's no boundaries in this industry, and they're not very professional. It's like, well, I mean, how professional are you with your friends?
Yeah, it's got to
It's
be
like-
gray. It's a gray area, and
You
it's
know.
working. So,
Like if the only people who could get treatment were other doctors,
right.
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I would imagine that it would probably be a little fishy up there, you know, a little weird. But you're
prescription pants.
you know, you're being doctors to people that you have no connection to. You can't really have empathy, you
Yeah.
know, like you can stay objective, you can stay professional. But I guarantee you, if it was like a floor full of doctors and you're the doctor and they're your friends, it would be different.
Yeah.
You know.
So, what has been like the outcome of those houses? The people that come out, are they still connected to each other, or do they experience that connection that helps with their recovery, or they just kind of like get their time?
No, FI was never really meant to be like a full-on lifelong community as much as it was meant to be a primer for other communities.
Yeah.
You know,
But they
go
do
back
connect
to
each
your
other.
community, enhance it.
Yeah, yeah.
I think Ed Munum, he said, he was like, maybe it was Ed. It was one of those guys. But he was like, send us your, you know, from AA, he's like, send us your drunks and we'll send you back better Christians.
Yeah.
You know, so it was like kind of the same concept where it was like, you know, like nobody, I mean, not a lot of people are going around telling everyone that they're in an AA community.
No.
Like they're part, like people are still kind of a part of F5. They come back, they volunteer, you know. But I don't know if like lifelong, you know, friendships are happening unless they center it around F5
Right.
or something like that, or if they found each other in another community. So I don't know. Maybe one day if we had like the structure for it, it could be a lifelong kind of community. But it's been more of like a team member community more than it is participant. if
How
that makes
helpful do you
sense.
think it's been that they connect with each other in those houses and at the time when they're starting to build shit up? You know what I
I
mean?
think it's more important that there's a level, it's not so much the connection between the two as much as it is like feeling confident to hold each other accountable.
Yeah.
You know, so like Laverne last night was talking at this thing that we were at, and he mentioned about how some guy came and told him, he was bitching about how no one ever does the dishes. You know,
Yeah.
and he was like, and some guy, and then he looks over at me, came and told me, he was like, why don't you just do them?
Yeah.
Like, why are you willing to go back to jail because someone else isn't going to do the dishes?
Yeah.
And he just never thought of it that way, so he started doing the dishes, and then another guy saw him doing it, and then he started
Yeah.
shoveling the sidewalk. But he would not do the dishes.
Right.
He's
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
I just won't do dishes. But they found a happy medium, and he was like, and of all the people that were living in that house at that moment, the only people who aren't drunk or locked up are me and that other guy.
Yeah.
The rest of them all got locked up. They're all back in prison. Because they were
How do you
willing
see it?
Yeah, they were willing to do work that wasn't necessarily their doing. They were willing to sacrifice their ego a little bit. And so if you can do that, and I think that's probably more important than like an actual connection in the house.
Yeah.
It's more of a work ethic, kind of accountability, effort, like this is important
Yeah.
to us to stay sober.
Since day one, the dishes.
The dishes.
I swear to God.
It's always the
always,
dishes.
Always,
Always the dishes.
Sometimes I wonder what it would be like if we put a dishwasher in there. And you know what would happen? It would just be a dishwasher full of dirty
Yeah.
dishes.
Nobody would turn it on. It happens at home.
I
It's like full, and it's
just
like,
don't.
has anybody run the dishwasher? What?
What? Yeah.
No?
I mean, I get it. If I came
on.
home after a long day and I
Yeah,
was living
sure.
with 5 other dudes, and I came back and the sink was full of dishes, I'd be like, what is good? I'm not doing these.
Yeah.
Like, they're
Visual
not my
quality.
dishes.
Yeah.
You know, I've heard more people go back to
I
prison
know,
saying,
but why
those
would you
aren't my
let them-
dishes,
Oh my
than I
God.
have anything else.
Yeah. Which, when you say it out loud as you're walking back
It's
into
insane.
prison, is
Yeah.
ridiculous. Yeah.
The one time I was in the jail, and the guy was like, "Man, F5 kicked me out, and that's why I'm here." He was trying to disrupt the meeting. He was just like, "I'm here because Adam kicked me out of the house or whatever." I was like, "No, you're here because you wouldn't do the goddamn dishes."
Yeah.
Whoa. No, I caught a charge and you kicked me out. And I was like, yeah, but before that you weren't willing, you didn't want to, you made a big
Yeah.
deal about not doing the dishes. You got so pissed off that you eventually, used, and then you broke the law, and then you're like, that's where it starts.
Yeah, for real.
Yeah.
You should rename the whole thing. Just do the fucking dishes.
Just do the dishes.
Maybe you should write a book.
Every once in a
Do the
while, I'll go to the
Yeah,
house
for
meeting,
real.
and Derek will be like, hey, you should give the dishes talk.
I do like that.
Never
as,
fails.
as your second book. Do the dishes.
Do the dishes.
What's the first one?
Ugly Grace.
Oh yeah, I like that.
So I think too, but it comes back to the whole concept of
I like that you think that I'm going to write let alone a second book.
Well, yeah,
Like I'm actually going to complete this first one.
you are. I have total faith in you.
Oh.
I feel like I've already read it.
Yeah, I think I've lived it. I've lived most of it.
May
With-
1st,
You know what I'm going to do is I'm going to
Scott
write
called
this
it.
book and then I'm going to leave Scott out of it.
Rename
See
it.
how awesome it is that I'm writing a second book.
But that's the part of recovery is I don't need to take credit for that.
Oh my God! Get out of here, Scott.
I want to be a whole chapter actually, so I've
He
got it.
doesn't.
I'm
He
not
does-
that
he-
recovered.
He's really good. He's really good
I'm
at
not
not
that
taking
sober.
credit. I'll give him that. But I bet when he goes home, he's like, Carrie, tell me I'm a good boy.
Turn the fan on.
I say bad boy.
No.
I say bad boy.
We're not bringing that back around.
Okay.
Oh, where I was
Darren's
going.
gonna be like,
Cut it
oh, yeah.
Everybody's gonna come to the house and see what the fan looks like.
No, they're not. No, they're not.
What's that? That's pretty cool. She's gonna like,
Just
what are you
stop.
But I think what I was going to say is what you were talking about with the dishes, and that's what, in essence, what recovery is. Helping one alcoholic, helping another or addict, is taking that time, and I think that's the biggest thing people have trouble understanding is, why are you helping me?
Yeah.
What are you going to get out of this?
I'm getting it.
Yeah, but we've never had that,
Yeah.
that concept of,
Yeah.
if I wanted something, usually when you needed something, I want something back.
Right.
You know, and that concept of wrapping your head around the
Even if
idea
it's just
that,
the accolade.
yeah, just
Yeah.
to say, yeah, you're amazing.
Yeah.
You know, but in recovery, if you really are working a recovery program, you are willing to help people without anything coming
Yeah.
back to you.
Yeah.
Because it does come back threefold.
Yeah.
When you are helping people and you're answering a call at 11 o'clock at night, or
Yeah.
you know, going to meet somebody, or you know, just taking the time to meet with people
Yeah.
and
Yeah,
spend
for
that
sure.
time. So I think that's the part of it is, you know, it's that concept of, you know, doing the dishes. You know, that's
Yep.
in essence, that's what we're doing. We're doing the dishes because we don't have to.
Yeah.
We want to.
Without needing the pat on the back,
Right.
like, oh, you did
Yep.
the dishes really great.
Or you help somebody.
The best
Yeah.
dishes ever.
And it's not even that you want to. You just do them because.
Yeah. 'cause
Like
you're
it's.
tired of
I think there's
yourself.
more times that I did it just because it was like the right thing to do than
Yeah.
it was because I wanted to do. Nobody wants to do the. I mean, sometimes I guess, but
Right.
it was like, oh, I
Probably
got something to
wasn't-
do,
want probably
and you-
wasn't the
Yeah.
right word. It was. I think that you hit it there.
don't
It
want
was the
to
right
die.
thing to do.
Yeah.
And that's pretty much what recovery is: doing the next right thing.
Yeah.
You know, taking
it's
that
gonna
right
work,
action.
Because you've done it before and
Yep.
it's worked.
And it's
just
worked
like.
But what if I do it and it doesn't work? I'm like, well, then do
then
it again.
you did it. Yeah, I don't know.
Just keep doing. I mean, you're willing to do the same thing over and over and expect a different result with alcohol. You might as well do it with good actions.
Yeah.
You know,
Right.
you'll try
That's
that. and see.
insanity.
You're not going to violate probation with that anyway.
Like, how dare you walk ladies across the street
Yeah.
and make sure they don't get hit by cars? I've never heard of anyone relapsing after something like that. It's usually like judging them. This lady's going too slow. Get out of the way. They're usually like how Scott is when he's driving. Like,
Are you an aggressive driver?
Yes.
Well, as long
Well,
as
if
you keep
people
your window
drove
rolled.
like I did,
Right. Yeah.
there wouldn't be any accidents.
True.
You know?
I know.
have you ridden with him?
Yep.
Yeah, that's one of my defects. I really do have it's one of those things where I'm like, this morning, just have him go to get coffee.
No way.
Little
This
white,
morning?
you know, Honda, those zooped up cars or zipped up, or whatever the hell you call them. He's like, pulls right in front of me. I'm like, what in the hell? And I go after him, and I'm driving behind him, and I'm like, and then I get up beside him, I'm like, what are you doing, Scott?
Yeah.
He's probably late for. Then I remember Jeff's story about, oh, maybe this guy's got his wife's dying of cancer and he needs to. It was some young kid, so his wife wasn't dying, but
Probably not. He's
he had to
just a
get to
dick.
school maybe. But I get caught up in that. And I'm
Oh,
like,
I know, I know.
don't do that.
Yeah.
One time I got mad. I was like, this guy, just honking at him, and then I looked down and see the handicap plate, and I was like, oh,
Why are you driving?
Yosemite can barely see the road. And I was like,
I feel really bad.
then I started blaming the government. I was like, how's
Yeah.
Oh boy.
Well,
It's not you. Whatever it is, it's not you.
and just to be transparent, I really didn't do it because I was thinking I wanted to be better. I realized I have F5 rocks on my plates, and I'm like, oh shit.
I should
Somebody's-
tailgate somebody.
Yeah, I probably should.
reason I don't have anything.
I know I should.
Car.
After I thought about it, I was like,
So I can do whatever.
That's what I was
Why doesn't Adam have F5 logos on his car? Because he drives like an idiot.
God forbid. they-
Cars full of dicks. Yeah. That's why, yeah. Oh, God. Anyway. Sweaty.
where do
in
we
here.
go
It's
from
hot.
here?
Yeah.
Well, thank you for all your friendship and being on the show.
Oh, ditto.
oh,
We want to thank of course, our friends and sponsors, F5 Project, Ridge Treatment and Reentry Center, of course, GoAwayBear.com, Heat Traps Warehouse, Shirts from Fargo. Tune in next week. We have more amazing content. We're going to have some very fun guests and just a lot of really, really great things. So thank you all so much. And most importantly, have a great day in recovery.